Welcome to STL City Showdown. I'm AJ, and this is Steve. And finally, Steve, a win.
Man, I'm really digging this whole once a month we celebrate with a win thing. This is really cool. I like this. By the way, we are undefeated in August. We were undefeated in August.
Woo!
Shut it down. We're good. Shut it down.
Wait, when was the Aston Villa? Was that in the last part of...
That was in July.
Okay.
Yeah, that was like the
So it's over 10 days ago.
Yep.
Okay. By the way, you went to that game. How was it?
I did. That game was fun. I went to that game because my daughter plays for City Futures, and we got free tickets. I definitely wasn't going to go unless we got those tickets, but I'm really glad I did because one thing I really wanted was one of the scarves, and I know they shut off selling them on the website a day before, but I was able to go and pick one of them up, and it's really cool. And so it's got the both sides on it. I don't really like buying scarves. Like, I got all my scarves behind me here, but like, I really wanted this because I don't think we're ever going to get a chance to see him again. And the fact that we were is great. And my kids are both really into EPL. My son is 16. He knows a lot of the players. And when one of the players that scored actually did, he was like, that's one of the best players in the world. And the goalie was one of the premier goalies in the world. And like, they got to see this. And it was about 50-60% full, so like it wasn't a sellout crowd at all, but the match itself was what you knew it was going to be, and we were definitely very much outclassed. You can tell Villa was going at about 50%. The goal that Seti got, I laughed because I said it looked like every dad when their 3-year-old kicks a goal on them, they're like, oh, and then they dive, and like it's like, okay, we know what happened there. And then the very next attempt was a very hard block, and the guy made it look easy. So, yes, we played an international team. We got beat. We could have been beat 5-1 probably, but we weren't. But it was really cool to see that there, and the crowd was into it, and it was just a special thing. And I'm really excited to have that happen. And I hope we can do it every couple years or so. We can attract another world-class team to come to St. Louis. And by the way, they only had 2 or 3 matches here. So the fact that we were one of them was a really cool thing. So I thought it was great. By the way, like apparently if you try to watch it on the TV or online, the feed was really bad. And it was one of those where it paid off to be in person. So, and I did see a lot of other kind of Premier League jerseys there, not just Villa. So like a lot of people that really are into that in the St. Louis area, maybe they're not City fans, but they wanted to come and see international soccer. Maybe they will pick up some City gear. And that's what's cool. That's what's cool.
Nice. Well, with this game here, definitely the team looked way better than we could have ever expected. Nashville was number 4 in all of MLS, 3rd on the table in this conference. And City honestly pretty much owned Nashville for the majority of this game. Honestly, the toughest opponent was probably the ref. I'm not going to start that. Yes. I'm not going to start that because people hate complaining about the refs. But what were you going to say?
Well, like, so I saw a fact that Nashville, all their points they have, and they're in 3rd place in the East. They have more points than San Diego does, and San Diego's at the top of the Western Conference. So we looked at this game coming in, and it should have been a blowout. Like it would have been. I thought it was going to be 3-1 Nashville. I just think I thought it wasn't going to be good at all. So like we had this behemoth of a team, which by the way, they were awful the last 2 years. They fired their inaugural head coach, and it looked like they were just going to fall apart. But they've attracted Sam Surridge, they've attracted some other really great defenders, and it just looks like they were going to come steamroll. They didn't have to play in Leagues Cup, so they were rested, and it was set up perfectly for Nashville to just have an amazing night here.
Yeah, so our team looked really good, and we were kind of debating, okay, what game are we going to play, pre-production today, and we settled on 3 stars. We wanted to do 3 stars because there were a lot of great players that played really well, but we really wanted to focus on 3 of them. So we're going to start with 1 star and work our way up to the 3 stars. So who would be your 1-star player?
All right, so I thought about this, and when we do the 1, 2, 3 stars in the past, usually it's like this guy was the one has got to be like the worst, and it makes sense. It's only 1 star. But what I'm looking at is like the top three players for me in this match, and they all can't be one, two, three. So what I'm going to say is my one is what I think is some of the highest players on this team for this match. So I'm going to start with Falyu Fall. The reason being is because he didn't have a great start to this match, but his presence on that back line was just so needed. You can tell he was there. He was a defender. He was mentioned on the broadcast quite a bit. So like for me, his presence out there, he's just always being on the ball. His passing was amazing. I'm looking at Botman right now. It's an amazing to have him on our team now. And it looks like we're going to be solidified a little bit back there. So that was my one. What about you?
I'm actually going to say Leuven because I felt like he really helped connect the back line to the front attackers. I think he was one of the players that were quote unquote quiet. Like he wasn't doing super flashy things, but there was a lot of times where he was taking 1v1s or just moving through the midfield, even under heavy pressure. There was times where there were two guys on him and somehow he still squirted out with the ball. I remember one specific time where he nutmegged the guy and got around two people. Like he just really helped progress the ball. And it's one of those things that if a player does well in the midfield like that, a lot of times you just don't notice it because
Right.
you're not getting frustrated because they're losing the ball. It's always easier to remember bad things than good things. And that's exactly the case here unless you're specifically looking at the players, like let's say you're just a casual player, you're drinking a beer, eating popcorn, whatever, you probably didn't really pay attention to him because of that reason. So he would be my 1-star here because I think he was key here, connecting that back line to Leuven, then to Hartle and the rest of the guys.
Yep.
Who's your 2-star?
Unironically, my 2-star is actually Leuven for pretty much the reasons you stated. It's his presence on this team makes a huge difference. I messaged you last night during this match. And I'm like, what is the difference here? What are we seeing here? And it was obvious. It's Leuven on the field and our new guys making an impact. And my 2-star could have been any of the new guys just because you can see their dynamic out there. But it was Leuven. I think your word quiet is a good adjective for how he played because he just made an impact. And he didn't have like an amazing set piece where he scored a goal from halfway across the field, or he didn't do that. But like he did the small things. He had great passing. He had those 1v1s in the middle of the field. His presence out there. If we can get Durkin to stop getting yellow and red cards and get him and Durkin out there again to that hard midfield, that we'll be back to like full health once we get that going. It was great. So yeah, my 2 was Leuven just because he's just so badass out there. What about you?
For my 2-star, and I know a lot of people may put him as the 3-star here, but my 2-star is going to be Falyu Fall for similar reasons like you mentioned. I texted you, I think it was like 15, 20 minutes in. It was maybe right before announcers started mentioning this, that he was struggling. There was one pass where he had a really lackadaisical pass right back to Berkey, and it was almost intercepted by the striker. And that would have been an easy goal. It would have really screwed up everything that was going on. Like there was just no pace on it. It was almost like it was, I hate to say it, almost like a cocky pass. Like, oh, you guys can't touch it. So he just like basically love tapped it. And there was a few passes like that where he did a switch from the left to the right part of the field, and he overshot it by, 30 feet. Like it just soared over the touchline. But then somehow he got dialed in, and holy crap. Like the moves that he was making defensively, I was like, okay, he's on the ground. I don't know if you remember that one play. He was 1v1ing with a guy and ended up on the ground and still managed to score out with the ball and was able to progress it upfield. I was like, holy moly, this guy, we honestly just don't have a player like him.
No, it's wild.
And it's constant because every person that he was going up against, he was pretty much owning them. Now, the thing is with the defenders, Steve, is that a lot of people, a lot of fans won't understand this. So I'm just going to preemptively say this: no defender can always defend everything, right?
What?
It's kind of like saying the best pitcher in baseball is never going to have a home run off of them. Of course they are. Everybody's going to make a slight mistake, or the other person just makes such a great move that if a defender and an offensive player both make a great move, usually the offensive player is going to win just by the nature of the beast. So there was times where, yes, Falu did get beat, but overall, like, holy crap, like, locked down. I just can't wait. If we get the Kessler from the first few games of the season plus Falu, our center backs are going to be hot.
Yeah. I think at this point, I think we've discussed this kind of recently in the past. I think there's probably enough evidence at this point of the season to show that Olaf, whatever his training style was, it really damaged this team. We had a lot of players hurt unnecessarily for whatever he was out there doing. I imagine it was out there like, if you remember Tom Izzo, the practices he was famously held at Michigan State during the late 90s, early 2000s, where he had his players wearing football helmets on a basketball court because he was out there playing them so hard. I can imagine Olaf out there doing some crazy stuff where all of our players are getting hurt. This guy is gone for 2 months now, and all of a sudden our players are getting better. Like all of a sudden these same players are now getting healthy. Nah, Cat. I think there's got to be a trend, and I think we're seeing the result of getting this bozo out of here. Kick him back. Okay, anyway. So we've been mentioning Kessler and mentioning all these players that are hurt. Like I could just see it. I could just see he's out there just watching them fall and then complaining they're too weak.
Absolutely. 3 stars. I think we probably have the same person.
I don't think so.
Ahead.
I don't think so. I don't know. I'm going to go with Orozco because, I didn't think so. We could have gone. I could have gone St. Ben. I could have gone Kloss. Could have gone Berkey. Hell, it could have gone Lutz right now based on how this game went. But the reason why I went Orozco is this guy has been working his tail off to get a goal. And that set piece or that corner goal he got where he received it, he passed it, he put himself in a great spot to get it again. And then that amazing shot. But by the way, the goalie, Willis for Nashville, he's no punk, but he got his butt whipped on that goal. So just seeing Orozco getting his first goal for me was amazing. And I think for me, it could also been St. Ben because since he's been here for the last 3 weeks, it's like he's had 4 or 5 almost goals. I joke that he's like our new Kloss where he's almost there. And then the guy gets it later in the match. But for me, it's Orozco because that goal was amazing. The team needed some injection of energy like that. And boy, it brought it. What's yours?
You know what's crazy about that goal, too, with Orozco is that the XG on that was 0.08. Like, my God. That low. Like, come on.
And he got it. That's wild.
Uh-huh. That's how crazy that was. Think about that, man. Wow. So, my 3-star, and you kind of mentioned it as Sangbing. So, the reason why I put him up high is because he played as advertised. I remember on the St. Louis City subreddit, there was a fan from Minnesota that had commented about him. And Minnesota plays like a back 5, so they focus more on wing backs and not as wingers, which is why he started getting sidelined and why he wasn't useful. That's why they're willing to get rid of him. Kind of like what we did with Vasilev. And I know that hurts, but we got this guy. And what they said is that he was fast. He was going to tire out defenses. He was going to challenge them. And he had a little bit of finishing issues, but he still would, be there. And what we saw is this guy moves so quick. And I love what the commentary had said is that he's moving so quick that our team almost can't even anticipate him because he's already like 5 steps ahead because he's just physically so quick. And that's what we saw, especially along the right edges, along the right wing. He was just moving past defenders like at lightning speed. He was there. He did exactly what he was supposed to with the Betcher goal, right? Betcher was on the near post there. What are you supposed to do as another attacking player? You go towards that back post and you get ready for something like this to happen. And that's exactly what we saw. Like he was
right.
Honestly, he played great.
Yep.
I get Orozco's a great choice. I think he was very reasonable. I know some people would have put Kloss on this list because Kloss is actually in the form that we're supposed to be seeing him. He did have a goal.
Yep.
right? And it's actually kind of great. I don't know if it was that 3 goals in that game that kind of sparked him, but it certainly feels like it. And maybe with the team saying that, hey, we're not going to get rid of Klaus, we're going to keep him and kind of focus on him. Maybe that gave him a little bit of burst too. I don't
Oh
know.
yeah, yeah, I agree with you. I think as soon as Lutz came out with the comment on KMOX that they're going to focus with Lutz or with Klaus around the team, that lets them know we're not getting rid of you. You're still the main focus of our team. And think back of that goal he got last night, that run that him and Leuven had, that communication. So Leuven's getting the ball down the middle of the field. Klaus runs behind him, and you can see they said something to each other. Klaus triggered to him that where he was going to be, and they immediately they got down to the final the final portion, and Klaus just circles right around. Leuven knew exactly where he was going to be, and bang, like that chemistry is wild. And I don't think we're going to see either of those two guys being released. I don't. I think we're going to keep them around. That was amazing.
Oh, it was absolutely amazing. Hey, do you know what was not amazing?
Probably.
Oh man, I'm gonna make Steve's skin crawl here. You guys ready for this? And probably you guys too listening. It's that PK. It's the thing that drives us all nuts, right? So I'm just gonna kind of go over this. Steve sent a thing yesterday, and we all kind of know this, but just kind of remember about the PKs, right? There's 2 parts to the PK. There's the run up and there's actual kicking. How the rules are is that you can stop, you can stutter, you can do all the stupid stuff as long as it's during that run up. But here's the catch. Once a player has completed the run up, which means that they've reached a point where they would normally strike the ball. So basically, like when you're starting to kick it, then you can't slow down, you can't stutter, you can't stop. Steve, what are you thinking about this? I know a lot of people are going crazy about this.
Okay, so when the initial PK happened, I texted you and I was like, is he going to be able to block this? Because that's the one thing that Berkey cannot do. Berkey cannot block a PK. He just can't. Our only PKs we've had in the 3 years that have been blocked were by our backup. Why can't I think of his name right now? Backup goalie.
Yeah, Berkey had the one. Luntz had
Luntz. There we go. So it was a Luntz, and he's had a good block. But it's just as soon as that happened and he blocked it, the stadium went wild. I went wild. I'm texting. He actually blocked it. And then, of course, the however starts kicking in. And I was like, oh, no. And it didn't make sense. Like, he blocked it, and they said he was off his line. And initially he looked, and right before Mukhtar kicks it, they show that pause where it looks like Berkey is like 2 feet off the line. But that is because when Mukhtar was heading up to do that kick, he did his silly little hop thing. He kicked his leg back, and then he paused. And that drove Berkey off his line because he's in the motion of kicking. And then he kicks it, and then it was blocked. And as the rule is written, the commentators on Apple will say that was the right call, but that's got to get changed. That's got to be changed. For me, he was in the motion of kicking. What about you?
Yeah, I think everybody hates this rule. I'm going to tell you what I would do if I was in charge of PKs. The problem is that there's a lot of fouls that are quote unquote softer that never get called in the penalty area. Because it's almost like a totally different rule book in the penalty area. And I hate it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But the PKs are so strong, it's almost like a guaranteed goal. You know, like 85% of the time, it's going to result in a goal, which is just, you might as well just give them the goal and skip the whole theatrics.
Right.
So here's my rule. The kicker stands there, and the second he makes a step, the goalkeeper's released. And I get it. The goalkeeper is going to run out and kind of almost meet him halfway and make it more of a challenging kick. But 2 things for this. One, you can't do this feigning crap, because if you do, the goalkeeper is just going to swallow up the ball really quick. The other thing is you got to quickly kick it. And my gut tells me is that now this brings the PK chances down to like 30-40%. And the reason why I say this is now, instead of only calling, like if you have a penalty or a foul in the box, I would say like if it's like a 8, 9, 10 out of 10 of seriousness of a foul, it ever gets called, which means that the 6s and 7s and the 5s never get called, which I don't like, that something
Right.
that's a foul everywhere else isn't in the penalty box. So if you make penalty kicks, only 30-40% chance of actually scoring, then now you can call those 6s and 7s out of 10 of seriousness of fouls in the penalty box, which I think would be way better.
Right.
Because it's kind of like in hockey, right? You commit a foul, a penalty, right? You go down a man, and the chance of giving up a power play goal is something, like 20-30%.
Right. It doesn't always happen.
Right. It doesn't always happen, but it's definitely penalizing, but not
Right.
so penalizing that it like literally changes the game. That's what
Right.
happens when the ref, because that's what happens is the ref inserts him or herself into the game and it changes it way too much. What would you do
Yep.
different?
You know, my wife has a really fun idea about PKs. She thinks that it's unfair. We can leave all the rules the same. It's unfair for the goalie to have to give up that goal and block it when he had nothing to do with that, unless he was called on it. Her theory, which I'm going to back this up fully, is whoever does the foul and gets called for it has to be the goalkeeper for that penalty kick. So if you're going to do some stupid crap, your name is on the line there, and you give that up. So Berkey gets to go off to the side and kind of cross his arms, and Durkin or Roscoe or Morales, whoever does the foul, they're the ones that have to put up with the stutter kick nonsense and have a ball shooting at them at 80 miles an hour. And then they get to they can even put on the Mickey Mouse gloves if they want, but they have to go out there and they have to defend their nonsense.
I guess that's the other thing too is why do they get to choose the PK kicker? Why isn't it like
Yes.
basketball where the person who got fouled is the one that goes on the line to shoot the free throws? Like, why do you
Yes.
get to choose? It's almost like a
Right.
technical.
Yes, you're right. There's the reason why Shaq was always fouled, because Shaq couldn't shoot a free throw to save his ass. So and so that I like that idea too. Why not make the person that was fouled have to do it? Because by the way, one thing we're not talking about is the actual penalty that was called, which it was an immediate penalty. You can't do that. Like, you pulled him down. That was pretty bad. Like, was it Morales that had the call? But I think it was. It was a really
Yeah.
bad foul. But I think it's just something that has to be fixed, because I think the stutter step has to be completely. I think, who is it on our team? Is it Hartle that does it too? He does that little chick, 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 and then
Yeah.
he then pauses and shoots. No one buys that shit. But by the way, after the call was brought back, you notice Mukhtar did not do that stutter thing the next time.
Of course not.
No, he wasn't taking a chance. He just ran up there and shot as hard as he could. It looked amazing. That was a good PK. That was one. It was hard to defend. It was a rocket. No one could have stopped that. So yeah, that was unfortunate. It shouldn't have been called. The rule has to be changed. It's one of those where if the rule is what it is, then we got to get rid of the rule.
So I'm going to transition because I'm curious on your thoughts. So we just had this game where we had a decisive win against a really good team. A lot of people, a lot of fans are very, very, how can I say it? They have short-term memory, meaning that whatever just happened is what we focused on. Like, we've been a horrible team all season, and now there's some fans that are like, oh, we're amazing. We're going to be great next year.
We're never going to lose again.
We're never going to lose again, right? So what do you think about this particular squad in Critchley? Do you think this translates? Does this give credence that we should keep Critchley, or is this just a fluke? Like, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking it was one match that before. So the Apple pregame preview, if you guys can go back and find it, the Taylor Twellman and two of the guys from the MLS Apple crew were talking about this game, and it was all negative for City. This is a throwaway season. Everyone's playing for their jobs. This is not a good team. And that's pretty much all there was to say. A 3-1 victory against a third place team is great, but it's not going to solve everything. Now, we're going against Chicago next week in Chicago in SeatGeek Stadium, which is about the same size as our stadium. It's a soccer stadium. They're not playing at Soldier. It's comparable to what an MLS stadium was going to be. If we go out there and we put a similar performance against Chicago and we see it's not a fluke, then we can start to look at a pattern. Maybe these new players that are coming in and they really are playing like the City way. They actually reflect the way that the high press we want to run. If Critchley is he can show that he's continuing to actually connect with these players, then we can see. We've got some pretty high power people coming in after that. We have to go to Vancouver and play against Brian White in the Vancouver squad after that. Then we have to play against Houston, which Houston's in the bottom with us. But if we can pull off 2 of the 3 victories against Nashville, Chicago, and Vancouver in good fashion, not winning it at a 90-minute PK, like if we actually can show a continuous sustained success with this, then after that, I think after the Vancouver match, if we've been successful, then we can have a conversation like maybe this is something we need to look at for next year. But until then, man, just enjoy the win, guys. Let's not try to paint parking spot names. Let's just go ahead and enjoy the win.
So I brought up something to you pre-production, and that's there's not tape on our team, which also is going to make it hard to defend against. And that's why I also think, okay, let's wait for 5 games before we consider this a huge success. Because check this out. Like, let's look at our squad here, right? We, of course, had Berkey. Berkey's been there for a while. Timo has been playing quite a bit. But the rest of the back line, Orozco, Falu, and Padelford, these guys, like, look at the rest of the year. These guys haven't been playing here. It's almost a completely different back line. Now, Morales and Leuven was pretty typical, along with Ostrak. And then the 3 up front, Hartel, Klaus, and Sangbin, they pretty much the same thing except for Sangbin, which I think changed the complexion. But I think there was enough change here that it was hard for teams to necessarily predict. Like, remember last year, Teutschert and Hartel were like looking great, especially with Betcher too. I thought those 3 were going to do amazing. And then look at this year. Hartel's doing great. He's fine. But Teutschert and Betcher, not quite where they were this time last year. By the way, the other thing that was interesting too is that this was clearly a 4-3-3 out there. They had Leuven as a left mid. They had Morales as the number 6. And then Ostrak was mirroring Leuven on the right side. And by the way, Ostrak was kind of absent this game. Yeah, and then the front 3, of course, Hartel and Sangbin as the wingers, and then Klaus. I kind of liked what I saw there, to be honest.
Yeah. No, this was a really nice lineup. I really dug it. Everyone looked like they were playing well. We didn't even have to kind of rely on, like, Celio came in later. Even Watts came in and made a difference. So maybe there is a mental shift happening with this team. Getting rid of that negative kind of leadership at the top, and we've got Chris Lee's a young guy, kind of resembles some of them. He's got some MLS experience, so maybe it's happening.
Yeah.
We'll see.
It's definitely interesting. And if you look at the lineup, it's also interesting because when you bring out Celio, like, where do you put him? The only way I could see Celio being out there is if you do 4-2-3-1, where the 2 part of it is Durkin and Leuven. You get rid of Ostrak, put Hartel in there, and then you have Sangbin and Celio as your wingers. But I don't think you run the 4-3-3 and have Hartel and Celio out there, interestingly enough. So, do you have any, our favorite game of all time that we always end with is goal or no goal? I got the first one for you. Nobody has said this, but goal or no goal, City released their official pet. I forgot what they call the pet.
Petey.
Petey. Okay, Petey. Of course you would know, Mr. Dogman.
Petey.
He's the reason, that dog, and that dog alone is the reason why we won.
Yeah. We need to get more dogs and just have a whole squad of dogs out there. Hell yeah. We got to keep it up now. The fact that this team is leaning into like a pet, that's really rad. It was cool. Yeah. My wife saw Petey. She's like, they say that dog is only 2 years old. That dog is frumpy as hell. I'm going to body shame a dog, and I'm okay with that. That dog looks like he has a mortgage and too many children. Let's see. Let me see. I have to cut some of this out. I'm looking right now. Oh, here we go. On the here I got one for score no goal here for from the subreddit. I can't possibly read this cat's name. It finally happened. No massive collapse. Great to see positive contributions from the new addition. So goal or no goal, not having a massive collapse. We didn't have a collapse last night. It was great to see.
Oh yeah, we definitely had no claps. We looked great. We were consistent. I'm not lying, Steve. I was waiting for it, especially the last 20 minutes this season has been horrible, and I was waiting for that. I was waiting, like I pretty much like pre-texted you, like, oh my gosh, here it comes. And it didn't. It really didn't. They did slow down. They did slow down, but that's kind of normal. So yeah, goal to the no collapse, absolutely.
When you saw 12 minutes, what was your initial reaction when you saw 12 minutes get put up for extra time?
I actually wasn't really worrying. I felt like unless there was like a PK or something, Nashville didn't look like they could put up 2 goals to tie a game, and definitely not 3 to win.
After they got that PK, and they actually ran down and had a couple of decent opportunities, but between a combination of them kind of getting the yips and not taking their shots, and our defense stopping them right off the bat, it really shut them down. So they had their chances in that extra time. All right. Before we do our closeout, I want to give a shout out on Facebook. Lily Mia Smith commented on our most recent episode, and I told her I'd give her a shout out, and I did. So on Facebook, Lily Mia Smith, thank you for commenting, and keep it coming, guys. We want all the interactions we can get.
Heck yeah. So where can they find us, Steve?
Oh, man, so we are STL City Showdown on Facebook. I am May Zipper on there, zipping around, causing chaos. We're on Reddit. We are on Blue Sky. We are on Discord. We're on occasionally the Instagrammies, and we're right around the corner. So if you see us walking around, don't throw things at us.
Oh,
and we're at the stadium causing chaos. Yeah, we're at the chaos stadium causing chaos. All right, we're ready to beef it out and get out of here?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yep. I wish I could do like the whole neck poppy vertebrae snappy thing, but I can't. I don't have that.
Don't do that.
I did.
No cervical dissections for us today, please.
Listen, we're doing cervical dissection. So what you're going to do is you're going to find your neighbor, you're going to go over to him, you're going to do a cervical dissection on him, and you're going to stand over him, and you're going to put one foot on his chest and go, "Oh, for city, baby!"